to the Stranger Still podcast. My name's Kathleen.
And I'm Miles.
And we are reviewing each episode of Season 4. This is Rewatch, so we may have some spoilers in here for all of Stranger Things Seasons 1 through 4, but we mostly stick to the episode as we go.
But just watch Season 4 and come back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter at StrangerStill22. Subscribe, rate, review us on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts.
Boom!
Oh, nailing it.
Bada, boom. This is Season 4, Chapter 6, The Dive.
Oh my gosh. And before we dive into this, I'd just to point out, I took like maybe a week between this episode and the previous one. And it's really easy to lose your spot where you were in the previous episode. But these episodes really still kind of act like we're in the 90s.
What do you mean?
When you start off the episode, you're getting a reminder of what you just experienced in the previous episode. So I don't know, it's like a little recap. Yeah. So we're back to Patrick's death here.
That's right. We are at the scene. The cops drive up. We find out that Jason did not take the proper conclusion from Patrick levitating out of the water and snapping his bones magically.
No. But you don't realize that at first, though, because the first shot you have of him is like almost like this dead grief of him sitting there holding Patrick, staring into nothingness.
Yeah.
And you think like, oh, this is horribly sad. But at the same time, you're like, finally, he understands. It's not Eddie.
I did think like, boy, this is going to be interesting. Yeah. How is Jason going to come into the fold? But no, despite Eddie being equally scared, equally screaming and paddling away from him, he is determined that Eddie is a vessel for Satan. And by the way, Jason, last episode, said he didn't believe in that supernatural crap.
Uh-huh.
What did he chastise Patrick with that?
Yeah, the other kids were laughing at him.
So who's laughing now, as you said? Patrick's laughing. It's been a good night for Patrick. No.
Yeah.
But how did the cops, so the cops bring him into the house, Reefer Rick's house, and they're saying like, hey, what happened? Who lifted him out of the water? And Jason's like, you're not listening to me, man. How do you expect to defeat the devil if you don't believe he's real? You mean like you? Like 4 hours ago?
Right?
You mean like you, Jason?
And then you expect these grown-ass men to believe something a teenager is telling them.
So they don't believe him.
No.
But why do they let him go? I've got some real questions about the police work here, because Jason is holding a dead body. He says Eddie did it from a boat. Just the amount of damage on Patrick's body is significant. It would take some time and manpower to break those bones and pop those eyes. And I mean, it would just take a lot of work. What was Jason doing while Eddie was carefully snapping Patrick's bones? If in the police's mind.
He was doing it with Satan.
I know, but the police are like, yeah, well, they have to accept the satanic explanation to let him go, to let Jason walk free. I mean, it would take some time to do that to Patrick's body. What was Jason doing while Eddie was doing that?
But, I feel like they could just believe that he fabricated this whole story in his mind as a sign of grief, and that he maybe wasn't even there for what happened to Patrick.
They think he's gone crazy.
Yeah.
More than that, they're accepting. How do you expect to stop the devil if you don't believe him? Like, oh God, I'm just so pissed at Jason for that.
Oh man.
And we flash over to the lake. We go down into the lake. A fish is just happily swimming along, and he gets stabbed by the upside down, and the fish gets brought down. Like Barb in season 1, Bob in season 2, Alexi in season 3. This fish, I cry for the season 4 fish.
Oh, come on. No. But talk about what do you call that? A jump scare?
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a very unexpected jump scare. Well, no, it was definitely expected.
Visit that fish.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying.
He just turns and goes, hi, I'm the fish from Stranger Things. No.
Now I know you're all wondering.
All right, let's keep following Jason and the police here. We'll pick up with the kids and Eddie later. Let's go to that town hall meeting. Well, I guess they announce it. They give the news. They hold a press conference, Powell and Callahan, and everybody's watching. You know, Ted's even mad. He's like, what are we doing?
Right.
Where's the FBI?
God, Ted, why are you the worst all the time? You know, this is very new Stranger Things-ish to me, the whole town meeting. There's always been this other danger, this other evil that is the upside down. But like we are really starting to delve into like true human nature danger. And it will be against our beloved characters. And that's just a scary thought. I mean, it's just a precursor to what I think that we're going to be expecting to see in season 5.
I love this. This is one of my favorite developments of season 4. Like, the town can't continue to just ignore this, but it feels so real that they would grab on to something that is not quite the truth.
Yeah.
It really is the summation of what Murray says in season 2 when he says you got to water it down. Why? Because people don't want to look behind the curtain. They don't want it. They want to go on with their little suburban lives.
Yeah.
And it's easier for them to believe the satanic panic. So the police are having this thing. They've got no answers. They announce a curfew. Everyone's pissed. Like, we're already doing a curfew. What are you talking about? There's no answers.
The moms are freaking out.
The moms are freaking out. And Jason crashes the meeting with an answer and gets the mic.
Very like scary evangelical preacher type situation to me. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of danger in words.
Yeah, and a lot of people saying right after this episode, the police shouldn't have let him talk. Did they have a choice? Did they have a choice to let him talk?
Yeah, it was a town meeting. It was for the town to be able to speak.
Okay, I'm saying no. No, they didn't. The momentum, they lost the town with the curfew there.
All right,
they had no ability other than shooting Jason in the head of stopping that speech.
Yeah.
Because people are like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would they let him talk? Like, they would have had to kill him, basically, or tase him to stop him.
This show would have gotten quickly dark.
With the curfew comment, the town was not on their side. They did not have control of that room anymore. And I just want to defend Powell a little bit in that sense. He didn't just sit there and allow Jason to talk. It was out of his hands by that point.
I think this whole situation, we're slowly seeing it become more and more out of his hands. Like, he is not up to the job of chief in this town. Poor guy, because I think he's trying his hardest, and I think he's an excellent police officer. It's just there's just way too much going on in the town of Hawkins.
And he's got the guiding principle of calm. And I do think that's the right thing for him to hold on to. You know, and he brings it up a little bit in chapter 7 as well. Yeah, but Jason gets up there, makes his speech. Don't worry, everybody. Jason, with all the information, has decided and made your conclusion for you. These are ritualistic sacrifices by the Hellfire Club, the Hellfire Club that's at his high school. Just so you know, Jason solved the case, and Chrissy didn't hide anything from him. Jason figured it out, and he announces that to the town. And the parents, Mike's parents, Erica's, or I love how Erica goes, that's bullshit. You know, it's just a club for nerds. And Lucas's mom...
Speaking truth. What does she always say? I'm just speaking truth.
Does she say that in this episode?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah, and that's like her line. She says it all the time. Yeah. All like previous season as well.
Erica's mom's like, sit down. Let the man who interrupted the other man talk. Like, why? Why can't Erica talk?
Right.
But yeah, all the parents looking at each other. I love that. And I love that this means that the town is no longer out of the loop, as I said. And I love that they've chosen the wrong thing. This really puts the internet trolls in a bit of a pickle. Because a lot of the trolls say, how is it even possible that the town would believe this? Or like, how is it even possible the town would believe Jason? But then they also say, how is the town not finding out anything about the Upside Down?
Yeah.
Well, now you can answer your two complaints with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like, they had to have some solution for everything that's happened. Too much has happened that's been too obvious to the public for them to be able to completely ignore it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely right there.
Let's stick here a little bit. I just want this is worth talking about. Jason, you mentioned preacher type stuff.
Yeah.
He pulls out the Bible here, Romans 12:21.
That's right.
And I was like, oh no. He says, there's so much good in this room. I come here humbly, blah, blah, blah. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Now, I'm not religious. My grandma was a Sunday school teacher, but she quit the church in the 70s after they mandated a tithe. But here's how I interpret that, and you help me with this. To me, that quote from the Bible, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good, doesn't mean assign yourself as good and go kill evil. Absolutely. It means bring good into this world, and eventually that will overwhelm the evil. Don't tag yourself as good and go kill evil.
That's exactly what it's supposed to mean. And it's just an example of how sometimes the word of God can become misguided.
Yeah. And Jason twists it there.
Mm-hmm. That there's dangerous power in words. Again, you can use them for good or you can use them for bad. In Jason's case, it's for bad.
Bad. All right, you want to hop on over to Hopper?
Hop on over to Hopper. No, I'd like to visit on Joyce and Murray.
All right, jolt on over to Joyce.
Let's go on and jolt on over to Joyce here. So they're at the plane crash site, freezing. Murray has just walked several miles around to see if he could find some sort of help or what to do from here. Yep. And he has seen like a little town that they think they might have some solutions for, but he's not going to give up on getting Yuri to tell them where the prison is.
I love the fake out because Yuri has been pissing us off with these fake jokes. And Murray, it's 20, 25, 22, 20, and they make the deal. And Murray, it looks like we got ourselves a moron.
I know. I love that too. And it's just, using Yuri against himself. But ultimately, they're able to scare Yuri into helping them by, who knew you could see your own future?
Yeah.
Bears.
And then Joyce, bears. She's like echoing it behind him.
Yeah, I know.
I just can't help but reflect Winona in seasons 1 and 2 with this singular obsession with her son, Will. And now she's in Russia emphasizing the threat of bears to a Russian smuggler.
Yep, and it works. It works.
So now they go to the church Amazon that Yuri has set up.
Very nice comparison there.
Thank you.
Our own little Amazon. Is that how Amazon started off?
Yeah, Yuri is Jeff Bezos. So this is all a biopic.
All right, so we've got all of our weapons. Oh, Jesus, as Murray says, because the whole warehouse is pretty much filled with them. And they reveal their plan to Yuri that Murray is going to pose as Yuri, and they're going to just walk right into that prison.
I love how this plan is slowly peeled for Yuri. Yuri's like, well, that's not great. You're gonna go to this prison. You're just gonna die if you break in. We're not breaking in. Oh, sure. You're gonna just knock? No, Yuri is gonna drop off his thing. Well, I'm not gonna do that. Well, you're not gonna be Yuri. It's like every peel of the onion, Yuri's slowly like, oh, this is a good plan.
Right, and I love that they just keep using all of these little details against Yuri.
You poor Yuri. He is working on a silent role. And they gag him.
Okay, so let's hop on over to Hopper, as you like to say. We can hop over to Hopper. So him and his fellow prisoners are taken downstairs through the Dema arena and are super surprised to see they're brought to this like huge elaborate feast.
Yeah. I love that they, the feast is obviously for the nutrients, right? But they lit the candles. They set it out nice. The guards made it look very cinematic. They
wanted a false sense of security in order to get the prisoners to eat as much as possible.
Because they need to be plump. Well, they believe that so the Russians are talking and Hopper kind of finds a corner and starts, quote unquote, drinking vodka, right? They believe they are getting this food for strength because they're going to train the monster.
And they're going to be the ones to defeat the monster, where Hopper is the only one that knows, no, they're basically pigs for slaughter, getting fattened up so they can feed the monster and keep the monster from getting bored.
Yeah, you know what? I love the slow camera pan across that wonderfully candlelit table as he just explains, like, the monster basically wouldn't eat us as corpses, so it needs a thrill of a hunt, and that's all this is. We're eating the monster's food right now.
Yeah. So were you surprised when it turned out to all be a hoax? I mean, I didn't realize.
What do you mean a hoax? You mean what Hopper was
deception? Doing? It was his plan all along to be able to steal the vodka and steal the lighter so that they could actually have at least tiny chance against the Demogorgon.
I was surprised because, Antonov says there he's given up on life. We just heard Hopper give up on life basically in his I am the curse speech in the previous chapter. So for all we know, he has given up on life.
Right. And I love that little moment when Enzo is like, you son of a bitch. And they start laughing. Oh, gosh. It's just like a little happy note there.
And I just love that they didn't have to have like a line where Hopper says, I guess I'm not the curse. Like we don't need that. We can see when he reveals to Antonov that he has done it all to get a lighter and vodka and so they can stand a chance against this Demogorgon. Once Hopper has done that, we now know he doesn't believe the words he said last episode. He has chosen to live. He has chosen to fight for Joyce and Eleven. There's no line where he says, I'm not the curse. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm not resigning myself to death. And I do love that.
Yeah.
Is that it for Russia?
No, I say we get out of the cold and go somewhere warm now.
California dreaming.
So we arrive at Susie's house.
Oh, Nevada. No, Utah. Utah. There's no good songs about Utah.
No. Nice try, though. I appreciate the effort. So they arrive at Susie's house, which is extremely different from anything I was expecting, really. And obviously them as well. They walk into like pure madness. And did you get like the Peter Pan vibe here? The Lost Boys,
Now that you say that,
a little bit of craziness.
Now that you say that,
yeah. It's just like pure wildness when you're expecting this like very strict, religious, rigid household.
Yeah, because they're Mormons, right?
I think so.
They are Mormons, yeah. I mean, are they allowed to do this stuff? I mean, no disrespect to the Mormon religion, but are they allowed to see things like Peter Pan?
I don't actually know a lot about Mormon religion. Yeah.
I found this all to be a little too silly. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off now. I mean, I like it for the contrast. I'm a big fan of contrast, but like the kids are dressed up in these elaborate costumes. They've got all the different filming stuff and the sword fighting and stuff like that. Like, to me, kids are more about imagination, not costuming. It's too well costumed in this house. It's an outward appearance, and it takes me out of it a little bit.
Are you telling me that you never dressed up in costume when you were doing all your fun plays growing up?
I mean, a little bit, but these are like legit. All of these kids, all these like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids like had to spend a long time getting these costumes to look good.
Well, I would have to agree with you. I did think it was a little over the top, but I did like the whole Argyle and Eden situation where he's like basically instantly falls in love with obviously the black sheep of the family because she seems to be not really religious. She says a swear word and like complete opposite of Susie.
Susie is the older? Is she older than Susie? I couldn't quite tell what that is.
I think she's the oldest.
I love when she says to Argyle, like, give Susie a shove for me. And Argyle's like in a love gaze. She's like, I will shove her for you. I will do anything for you. Argyle's immediately smitten.
She is like the most, Susie is the most naive person because we go from her believing everything Dustin said about the, finding the code. And then we go to this season in which, okay, so you want me to find this place that's part of this promotional program to be one of the first to get this brand new American Tendo.
And I love Mike. They obviously, Mike
are
and
not
Argyle.
Thrilled with Argyle's naming it American Tendo,
Mike,
but now there's no going back.
Yeah, Mike, you're right. It is a stupid name. Yeah, Susie is. Mike said Susie saved the world, right? But she doesn't know that.
No.
She doesn't know that. And she's going to save the world again here through these connections.
And again, complete oblivious.
Yes. And I'm glad she's back, though. You know, I didn't want her to just be the never-ending story at the end of season 3, though I loved that little intermission in the middle of Battlestar Court. It was fun, but I'm glad that she's actually involved in the story here, and I hope to see her again, because we have not seen her on screen physically with Dustin. Dusty Bear.
Dusty Bear.
Or is it Dusty Bun? I can't remember exactly.
I think it's Dusty Buns.
Bad nicknames.
But so she uses everything that we saw from the moment that Mike and the others walked through the door as a ruse to get her dad out of the office so she can claim back her computer that she lost because she was too honest with her parents.
Yeah, she was talking with an agnostic, which you're not allowed to do as Mormons.
And she broke the law.
Yeah, and she broke the law by hacking into a high school, changing a grade. So now she hacks into her father's room and pulls up the computer really quick. But I got to say, 1986, that computer ain't booting up like that.
Absolutely not. They did not have enough time.
I didn't get really on the internet until 99, 2000 or so, but it didn't boot up that fast. That's 15 years later, and it didn't boot up that fast.
But it is the pill we have to swallow.
That's true.
Because we're not going to sit through this scene while the computer takes a whole 10 minutes to warm up.
That's a great point. Everyone's waiting for it to log on for 15 minutes while Susie sits there and they're all just tapping and they're like, "You happy, Miles? You happy, Miles? You got your realistic boot up?" Because we're all just sitting here watching Susie and Mike and Will watch a computer boot up.
I do like the little moment where she successfully gets the coordinates and Mike says, "Oh, can you print it?"
Yes.
No, I can't print it.
Yeah. I love that because Mike was being so condescending to her a couple of different times and she gets it right back at him. Because Mike says "Oh, I mean crap," oh, I can't swear in front of her.
Yeah.
Though she is naive, like you said, when they go outside. "Oh, we must have spooked a skunk."
I know, right? And it turns out that it's actually her sister in Argyle getting super high in the pizza van.
I have one nit to pick.
Okay. Well, you've already picked a nit.
Okay, I have another nit to pick. What did Susie's dad do for work before this? Because he says, he uses it to work from home. What if she didn't break into the Hawkins High School database and change the grade and therefore have the computer go to his room? He wouldn't be working from home? It doesn't make any sense. Now, that's just a small nit. I also don't like the dad's acting down there. When he goes down there to the chaos, he's acting like he's a passerby from the street. He's like, "What? Oh, man. Whoa, Cornelia. Oh, no. They're filming something and she's dying. I've never seen this before." I
actually did like that aspect. And I thought it was just very realistic to the stereotypical, the mom stays home and takes care of the kids while the dad goes off to work and, non-participatory in the raising of the children. So to me, it was just a portrayal of that. He comes out to all this chaos what? The house is supposed to be in order. The kids aren't supposed to be crazy.
Okay. He would very rarely be the one to deal with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back to what did he do for work? Well, maybe he did go to work, but this became the opportunity for him to be able to stay at home. So this is a whole new world for him.
I feel a little better about it now. A little better about it now.
You're welcome.
They see Argyle and Eden in the back of the truck. By the way, Eden looks...
Van.
Yeah. Past the Deutsche on the left-hand side. Eden looks exactly like Ali Sheedy from The Breakfast Club.
Oh.
I thought, it was her.
Okay.
Somehow.
Yeah. Okay, I could totally see that. Absolutely, I could totally see that.
It's one of a few Breakfast Club visual references. Hear me out on this. This is a theory here. Eddie, the rebel, Jason, the jock, Fred, who dies from Vecna's hands, the brain, Vicky, who is Robin's crush. She's got the Molly Ringwald vibe. She's the princess. And then here's the weirdo. Eden is Ali
the
Sheedy.
Jock. Not Jason the Jock.
Well, Jason, I'm just talking about new characters introduced. Jason's got the Letterman jacket and everything.
Yeah, but Jason's
exactly like him.
the not a good person, whereas the jock in the Breakfast Club.
These are visual references. Didn't I say that? If you put all 5 of them together, I think you got a pretty good Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club is a beloved movie for me.
I love it.
So I don't like to associate any negativity with them. So how dare you compare?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fair.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to one state.
Know what we're talking about anymore. I'm just so razzled by that.
Let's go one state over, I think. Utah to Nevada, those border, right?
Sure.
We
know our geography.
And we go to Nina. Or no, actually, we're outside of Nina. We're in 1986 where Brenner and 11 are talking, and Brenner's kind of laying out his theory of what they're doing there. Basically that they had a stroke. That 11 had a similar or something like a stroke. Her signals were scrambled when she was bit last year, and we need to unscramble your mind, and then you can use the powers that have been there the whole time.
Your abilities are still in there. You just need to remember.
And he says, "You're not a prisoner here. You sure about that?" Because she has recently been drugged and had her head shaved. So I'm just pointing that out.
I do like the line he says, you have demons, 11. You have demons in your past. If we go too fast, I'm afraid you could become lost in the darkness.
Are you sure about that? Because that doesn't seem like...
He just we have this kind of wish-washy with Brenner. Like right here, he sounds like a good guy, and he's just trying to take it slow, to take care of her, to let her slowly come back into her powers. So right now, he's looking like the good guy to 11 and to us.
Yeah, because I felt like a little bit of trust in Brenner here because of his self-preservation line, which if you are lost, so are we all. And I do trust Brenner to act in self-preservation. So it's kind of like, okay, Brenner is kind of on our side right now. Yeah.
So we go back into her memories.
Time to get in the tub.
Which is really cool because it's nice to see what her life was like inside the lab. Yeah. It's really interesting to see that storyline.
Yeah, I just want to point out how nice it is. We don't have to contrive a reason for her to have a flashback. She is going to get into a flashback tub and have this now.
Yeah. So we see the orderly, which obviously we later find is Vecna.
Spoilers!
Spoiler! You better have watched this already.
Yeah.
Orderly comes in while she's doing her exercise. She's doing one of those, what do you call it? Like pegboard exercise?
I'd call it pegboard, yeah.
Yeah, and she's trying to get the circle into the right spot. It's not working.
She never gets it right. Seemingly by chance she would get one right.
And then we start to kind of delve into some mistrust with Dr. Brenner. What does he say? Sometimes Papa doesn't tell the truth.
Sometimes Papa doesn't tell the truth. And what did you feel about the orderly during this? Like, there's some creepy vibes coming off of his little speech to 11 here.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when they flashed to the camera and they, he said, keep your voice down. They showed the camera there. I thought we were going to see a video of 11 not talking to anyone. I thought this is the ghost of 1. I knew he was 1 at this point. When he started talking about 1, I knew he was 1. And I thought maybe it was like a Sixth Sense sort of situation. 11 is seeing a dead person within the lab. But
I did not know he was 1 at this point. I think I was slow to come around. I knew something was up. I knew that he knew what had happened to 1. What that was, I didn't know, but you knew.
He basically tells Elle to tap into the dark side. Look for a memory that makes you sad and angry. Hey, let me remind you of when your mom came and was taken away.
Right.
This is not unlike what, and he mentions 8. Yeah. This is when 8 was here.
And this is why I kept thinking 8 was going to come back in this season, which she doesn't, but go ahead.
She's got to be back. They wouldn't have name dropped her. I don't know. I don't know. But 8 basically says this same thing to 11. I took the quote from season 2, episode 7, Lost Sister. Here's what 8 tells 11 in that episode. So find that anger. Focus on that. Not the train, not its weight. I want you to find something from your life, something that angers you. Now channel it. So what Kali is saying is the same thing that the orderly Peter Vecna 1 is telling little 11 here in 1979.
Yeah, but of course she doesn't remember any of that.
Tap into the dark side.
Really interesting.
Yeah, tap into the dark side, they say.
Yep. So they go from that to
the testings, one-on-one.
The Dr. Brenner's exercise. And he starts it off like it's going to be this fun game, but it's like this brutal exercise.
Yeah, I know. It's a one-on-one battle between the kids, and he gives a Jedi speech. No emotion.
Which is exact opposite from what the orderly says.
And not really what Brenner preaches either. Didn't last episode or whatever, he'd be like, 11, they're laughing at you. Show them what you can do. Like that's Yoda wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
They're laughing at you, Luke. Show them what you can do. No, you're supposed to detach.
I think it's maybe like the war between wanting results because he is a scientist with also because we understand he knows who the orderly is, so he knows what can happen when you use negative emotions.
He's kind of
because he's studied one for a long time.
Yeah, he's kind of talk not walk there on that speech.
Yeah, which I don't think is like any sort of like I'm trying to protect you. I think it's like okay, in order to get the correct results and not have our experiments turn bad, they need to not use their emotions.
We've got funding to maintain. Very interesting. That's a really good point. And maybe I'm like too one-to-one with Star Wars on a lot of stuff. You know, it's the Force is so ingrained in me that I just can't like see fantastical worlds without thinking about the Force.
Yeah. And then this is where we really start to see a little bit of unrest between the orderly and Brenner because the orderly walks over, wishes her luck. Brenner gives a look and you know something's up. You know he's been interfering and it's not good. It's not approved. No. And then 11 crushes it.
Yeah. After 2 beats everyone, 11's the last one, which is obviously on purpose, right? He's going to wait for, his special Brenner's pet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't like this scene. It makes me really sad.
For who? 11 or 2 or
11? I'm so sad for number 2, who's a jerk and a bully.
Well, he is a prisoner in a lab.
Well, that's true. That is true. He's a product of his upbringing, and they are not brought up in a loving environment.
Yeah. One of the things that makes me sad for 2, I mean, they're being jerks, but when he's like truly angry for 11 doing this in front of Papa, in front of Papa, like he has this warped attachment to Papa as well.
And they all do. They're there to please Papa. That's like their goal. I mean, that's the only like illusion of love they get.
Yeah. Please Papa, get 1 piece of saltwater taffy, get an hour in the rainbow room. This is a weird life for these kids.
Yeah. So before he comes and beats the crap out of 11, she hears screaming. She goes to investigate, and then she sees Papa having Vecna, the orderly, tased. And that just solidifies everything that he has said to her about like Papa not being truthful.
Yep.
She sees that and she thinks, oh my gosh, why would I trust this guy? He's, hurting somebody that helped me be able to use my powers.
Yeah. Little does Brenner know he has just planted the seed in 11 that it leads to everybody's death by doing this tasing.
And you know what? I just like, as I said, helped her use her powers. I also thought that's also why she's attached to Papa later on. Well, which is, season 1 for us because Papa helps her use her powers.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. So she walks back into her alone time with the rainbow room, only she is not alone. Number 2, 3, 4, and 5, I believe. I just assume they're all the 4 oldest kids. Are there, and they're going to beat the hell out of 11 with their minds.
Yeah, it's so sad on 2 levels because, like, you were showing sympathy for 2. I mean, this is how they were brought up in competition to be the best. That is what Dr. Brenner is cultivating here in these lab rats, basically. But it's also sad because I feel like anybody who was bullied can relate to this. Like, the fear of, you don't want to disappoint these bullies, right? Because she is scared. She doesn't want them to think that she did anything to hurt them. She wants them to be her friends, and they're not her friends, and they gang up on her, and they hurt her.
And remember, it's Millie Bobby Brown in that scene a lot, but the little flashbacks are masterful to remind us this is actually that 8-year-old little girl being beaten.
So tiny, and they're so much bigger than her. It's really sad.
Do a great job of those flashes in the one-on-one battle room as well to show up to remind us. So the question for me. Now, Papa did arrange this beatdown of 11, right?
Yeah, we later find out in the next episode.
Well, do we find... Because that's what Henry says. I don't know that we ever truly know.
But Henry has pretty much been truthful with her.
11. Yeah, that's true.
So, I think that that's accurate. And he is trying to get results here.
Yeah. And presumably that camera... 2 makes a mention. You see any light? That camera's not on. Presumably it was on, right?
Yeah,
because that's how she's remembering it in Nina.
Yeah.
So it's all 2 again has been duped.
They've all been duped.
The bullying that they do of 11 makes these characters very unsympathetic, and I still don't wish for their brutal deaths that happened, but it does kind of soften it a little bit.
Well, Brenner really is the villain here.
Very true.
That's why you still feel sympathy towards them.
Yeah.
But so 11 comes back to reality. She wakes up. She's
there goes gravity.
Nice, babe. She just ended that flashback with her covered in blood, seeing all the death around her, and then she thinks, "I did this. I killed them, didn't I, Papa? I killed them all."
Not a great stopping point.
No, it's very sad.
And because she just beat up Angela a couple days before in 1986, so she's thinking, this is what I do. I solve things with violence. I killed them all, didn't I, Papa?
Yeah, like in retaliation to the bullying. And it's so sad. And like, again, watching this before I saw like part 2, right?
Yeah.
I was like, they cannot do this. She cannot be the bad one. She cannot have done this horrible, horrible thing. There's got to be some sort of explanation. I just felt like it would really ruin her character. So thank God they had a great explanation for it.
And you were very confident that she did not do it.
Yeah. It was so outside who her character has been for these past 3 seasons.
Agreed.
So, anyway, all right. Enough of 11. Let's hop on over to our favorite gang, the Scooby Gang.
Yay!
And sadly, they have arrived at Reefer Rick's house to see that there's all these police, there's reporters everywhere, and Patrick has died at the hands of Vecna.
Yeah, and they're wondering, where is Eddie? What has happened?
And he's officially listed as a person of interest.
Oh, yeah, because they see the press conference that goes on the news. They're watching that.
Because this is before the town meeting has been called.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Right? So Eddie is now officially a person of interest. Yeah. And they're like, holy crap, now we've got to find Eddie, who conveniently has stolen a walkie and told them that he's at Skull Rock.
Yeah. And they were already driving to give Eddie bad news that they discovered where Vecna is and they can't get to him.
Yeah. And then just received more bad news.
I love Robin saying, I don't even want to go in this time and tell Eddie. And Nancy's
Look at his little eyes.
And Nancy's like, we'll just tell him we're one step closer. Nancy, you have a future in corporate America.
Right.
So they're going to walk to Skull Rock.
Yep. And Dustin and Steve are arguing because there's still this tension between them. There's still jealousy between Steve, Steve and Dustin because of Eddie, Dustin's new friend. And they both end up being right as to where Skull Rock is.
Because they're walking right and Dustin's following the compass north. And Steve's like, we're going the wrong way. I know where it is. Go this way. And then they do get to Skull Rock. And in your face, man. In your stupid, cocky little face. And then he says, you are a butthead. And Eddie, with his entrance, Dustin Henderson, I can confirm you are indeed a butthead. I
love that, like, he's obviously gone through this horrible situation and yet he's still, like, joking around.
Yeah. And like that, after that joke, he then comes back to reality and the fear.
There goes gravity.
Very good. Very good. And there's some talks on the way there too. Max and Lucas have a talk about Patrick there. Why him? Lucas is saying, he was beat. He had a black eye. He was beaten by his dad. I looked the other way and I looked the other way with you too, Max. and he's apologizing to her.
I did know you. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I just didn't look hard enough, but I see you now. I see you.
I got to say, I don't think Lucas did a very bad job of reaching out. In the first chapter, he directly says to Max, I know something is wrong. He says those words to Max directly. That is a very forefront confrontation that we should all aspire to. If our family and friends are showing signs like Max is, you should say that. Yeah. So I don't think Lucas has much to apologize for. No. He did a good job.
But comparing to real life, it's natural that when you love somebody and you see them go through something painful, you see them in pain, you're quick to blame yourself. So that's realistic, I think.
Yeah.
But no, I think he's done a lot to try to connect with Max and just has been unsuccessful.
Yeah. And I love just kind of the bridge they formed there. Max and Lucas in this season really become a real thing. Yeah. Like I really am rooting for them.
Me too.
And it seems like blue skies ahead.
Oh my God.
And
then we've got Robin and Nancy. They, are officially becoming friends when Nancy opens up about why she's so insecure with Jonathan.
Yeah, why she winced.
Yep.
And it was because he was supposed to go to Hawkins? Because that's not what he told Argyle. He told Argyle Nancy was supposed to come here, right?
Or that's the thing. They have this big disconnect, and really it all, pretty much all comes from Jonathan. So, like, Jonathan was kind of assuming maybe she would come there, but Nancy was thinking that he was supposed to... No, I think that was the plan, though. I think Mike...
did go?
Yeah, but Jonathan said, no, I'm not going to go. But Nancy still thought like maybe he will still show up. Whereas Jonathan was like, well, maybe she'll come and surprise me.
Yeah,
so they're just not on the same page. And she's feeling the disconnect.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's feeling...
I mean, I can't imagine a long distance relationship for your senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Very difficult. And they're going through it. They're at Skull Rock, and they start to kind of formulate another plan. God, the Scooby Gang, always moving us forward, always figuring stuff out, largely thanks to Dustin, who figures out, as you said, that he was both right and wrong.
Boom.
That's Bada, as I introed, Bada, boom. I was right. And Steve, like, are you kidding me? I love Steve. Just, you cannot be serious that you were bringing this back
and
up.
Also, he, like, for Steve, like, give him a bone, right? He's never right. He's, like, never the smart one. But in this, he's like, I can help. I know exactly where Skull Rock is because that's where I make out with girls. And Dustin kind of steals that away from him again. But I like the like, flash to season 1 where they go back to that electromagnetic pole. By the way, are we ever going to see that teacher again, you think?
Mr. Clark?
Yeah.
And this was the only season without him, so I got to think yes.
I hope so.
Yeah. They determined that there must be a gate around. Robin adds a snack-sized gate, and no one acknowledges her, but I just want to call out. It's a great line by Robin.
I know. And I think this is where you were like frothing in the mouth with the hints to Lord of the Rings here.
Oh, yes, I was. But I really love it because so they turn the decision to Eddie the Banished. And Eddie goes on the speech like, I think you're asking me to go to Mordor. That sounds like suicide, but the Shire is burning. And I love Steve doesn't know Mordor. And I really love that because that's like a nesting doll of nostalgia. Lord of the Rings in that day was a book, a book series. So
and it was like pure nerd.
Yeah. So someone like Steve wouldn't know Mordor, whereas everyone now knows Mordor. It's actually kind of like the Sherlock Holmes reference that they did the episode before. When Dustin does like the super British accent, there's no Cumberbatch or Downey Jr. accent at all in there. He does the super British, Sherlock Holmes, So I love these little nesting dolls references of nostalgia that they have. Let's go to Mordor, or in other words, Lover's Lake.
I know. What a difference there.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, while this is all happening, the town is now hunting kids.
Yep.
And
openly defying us.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so the Scooby Gang starts to follow the compass to the lake. all the big kids get on the boat.
Yeah.
Dustin's pissed to be left behind.
Yeah, because it's his plan. He's like, I'm the one who figured all this out.
But like finally, okay, justice for like, okay, Steve here, who has been saying like these kids, like keep these kids away from danger.
Yep.
Like this is his moment where he does keep them from danger. But you guys stay on shore.
Yeah.
We're going to go out in the boat and I'm going to go find the gate.
He does take some pleasure in it, though, in leaving Dustin.
Absolutely,
the way he throws
does.
the backpack back at him, and Robin rubs salt in the wounds as well. He's like, bedtime. She's like, bedtime at 9, kiddos.
Yeah. No, I feel bad for Steve though, because he's always trying to like protect them and they're never really taking him seriously or really listening to him. So yeah, let him have this.
He took charge here. He got it done.
Yep.
And they name it Watergate, which I love because everyone would know about Watergate here. It's only 10 years removed since a president resigned in disgrace.
Yep.
Nancy said something before they go out there. She says, every time the Demogorgon attacked, it always left an opening. Did it? Did it?
Well, that's how.
I don't know about that.
Not a lasting opening, but that's how she got into the Upside Down the first time. Remember, she crawls through the hole in the tree.
Yeah, but like, where was the opening when Will vanished in the thing? Where was the opening when Barb went in the pool? I don't know.
There was still an opening.
I've always said the Upside Down. What is it? It's whatever it needs to be for now.
So,
and I'm fine with that.
They reach the point in the lake where the gate is obviously at because the compass is going crazy. Yep. And Steve, being the hero that he is, starts stripping down and jumps right in.
Yeah.
Lucas is disgusted.
No, Lucas, like, he's so hairy. I love Max's look through the binoculars.
Let me see. The long
look. That was one of the funniest moments of the season for me.
So he's swimming around because he was the swim captain, so he can hold his breath the longest. Yep. He finds like the whole pile of dead fish. We go back to our sad loss of the fish. Fishy the fish.
I wish we could have had more time with him.
And then he does the stupidest thing of all, which we called out the first time we watched it. He touches the gate.
Don't go over there.
God, all you have to do is see it and say, okay, I saw the gate. We know it's there now.
He really just needed to see the light. Oh yeah, there is something down there. And when he sees one of the tentacles, right, it like kind of bounces out. That's why he drops the flashlight.
It like touches the barrier of the gate. So he swims back up to tell everybody.
I think the worst thing he does is not get back in the boat immediately. He saw the tentacle.
Yeah, but the tentacle just like touched the gate. He doesn't realize that it can.
Well, you saw the dead fish as well. Just get out of the water.
Okay,
get out of the water.
Yep,
Steve.
You're right. So he swims up to tell everybody. Meanwhile, like, we hear police on the shore. They're looking for the kids, or they're looking for Eddie, really.
Max, hey, officers, I found the killers.
And here we're like into the final scene. So the tentacle grabs Steve's leg. We think it's a fake out at first, but then we see him go under and it's like jumping back and forth between the kids that are on shore trying to distract the police versus Nancy jumping in to rescue Steve, back on shore, back on Robin jumping in after Nancy and Steve, back on shore, then Eddie jumping in. Like, I just love that. It's going so fast, and you're like, no, Steve, we gotta save you. And then you see Steve in the Upside Down, and he's trying to fight off these Demobats, which you absolutely love. And he's failing terribly.
Well, and then he gets a couple good hits with the oars.
Yeah, a couple good hits, and then it's done. He's like getting strangled, and they're all attacking them, and then it just goes black, and that's the end.
And they are biting his sides bad.
Yeah.
And he's screaming.
Yes.
What an ending. Oh, my God. I'm glad.
And we're thinking, like, is this the moment? Is this the moment that we're losing Steve? Like, are we going to come back and, like, watch him die in the next episode?
Because of some of the shots, some of the cinematic shots, like when he's floating over the gate and you're looking down upon him.
Yeah.
And because of just the ending and the zoom out, the overhead stuff there. Yeah. That made me feel like he might die because we're getting these dramatic hero shots. God, I'm so glad. Steve, thank you.
I have a question. Why is there no water in the lake in the Upside Down? Is it because, like, there's no life? It's just like this dried up, decrepit. Well, we know there's some water. There's like bracken, rot down there.
I don't know. Probably because Steve, if there had been, Steve would have just drowned, and that's what they needed for the story. You know, Upside Down does whatever we need.
Yeah.
That was, oh man, the bats were creeping me out. The credits, I remember just being like, dear God, no, not Steve. I'm so glad we had another episode left in volume 1.
Because if for all of you listeners who maybe haven't heard all of our episodes, Miles is not a fan of bats.
I'm not a fan of bats.
No.
That's what all bats act like.
Yeah, okay. They go for your tonsils, right?
So we end this episode, and I want to throw out some numbers for you here.
Okay.
This episode ends, and that means season 4 has come to 7 hours and 48 minutes of runtime.
Damn.
In other words, the exact runtime of season 3.
Oh.
Season 3 was 7 hours, 48 minutes. So if we were running season 3 and season 4 side by side, the Battle of Starcourt would have happened in the middle of this episode.
Okay.
The dive. And we have like 5 hours more to go. That's how long season 4 is.
Yeah, because the next episode's like an hour and 39 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got like an hour and 40 minutes and then 2.5 hours. Is it 2 hours or 2.5?
It's two like 2:12 or 2:19 or something like that. Yeah. It's pretty crazy how long season 4 is. And it really, all of season 4 is just fancy exposition, as I've said. We're setting up all the stories. You know, they've learned the lessons from Game of Thrones, which tried to rush everything. Season 4 doesn't do that. It jams, or doesn't jam it all in. It takes time to breathe. I would have preferred it be just a little bit longer so Susie could boot up that computer longer. But other than that, no complaints.
I think I remember finishing this episode and thinking, thank God we have so much more of Stranger Things season 4 left.
Yeah. You can't do these runtimes if you don't have 12 amazing characters that everyone loves.
Right.
You know, it feels natural, and I absolutely loved it. Season 4 is just masterful.
Phenomenal.
Well, that's it. Let's go to feeler moment, music moment, and our final question of the day.
All right. So how we always start with feeler moments.
Can
we start with some music?
Absolutely. We can start with a music moment here.
All right.
I do have 2. My first one is Hopper and the prisoners being walked to their feast. And remember, they don't know that. They think they're being walked to the front of the Demogorgon gate. They even stop there, which is a funny little moment here. We haven't talked a lot about the Russian music, but I want you to listen to the track. It's called Burning Baby. Don't know why. I'm guessing that's a reference to what Victor Creel sees in his flashback. But the score track is called Burning Baby. There's a little shuffle, a little metallic sound here. A lot of very typical of what we get in this Russian plot line. So here kind of there's like a wobble, 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 wobble. You know, like the ambient sounds back there.
Ooh.
The metallic clanks. This is when they're standing right in front. And of course, Russia music in general loves a good minor melody, and it kind of fits with what the upside down, you know, sort of motif is.
Sounds like danger.
It does. It does. And the soundtrack is very ambient, very clangy, but there is some great music in the Russian plotline that Dixon and Stein come up with. Let's go away from the Dixon and Stein, and since this is in the same episode as we get this wild house with the Mormons and Susie and everybody going around, what we get during all that is a violin piece composed by Eric Wolfgang Karngold, a child prodigy from the early 20th century. Unlike Nina, which the Nina opera was kind of a rare pull, you know, like even opera people weren't like, oh, they're going with Nina. Wow, okay. This one, I think a lot of like classical people would be like, oh, good, Korngold getting some play here because he's an underrated composer. So we get this just frantic violin piece while in the Susie house. So I think that's kind of like a beloved type of piece for music, violin people.
Very whimsical.
Yeah. Very whimsical and very complex. Yeah.
Interesting.
You know, sometimes they've got it's these two music moments together, I just wanted to point out.
They're such a huge contrast.
Just the the tainted clang of Russia.
Yeah. One is like straight up
synthetic,
danger,
just blah, and then this,
happy and childlike and innocent.
Same show.
All right, so let's hop on into our feeler moments here. And for me, it was that laughing moment between Enzo and Hopper when Hopper reveals his plan with the alcohol and the lighter. So that kind of laughed. Okay, you think like he's just been beaten to death, right? There's like very minimal chance of success here. His life has been hell. And yet him and Enzo just bust up laughing. I mean, like, he's pretty sure his lungs are broken, or his ribs are broken. His ribs are broken, and yet he is just like cannot stop laughing. Now that to me, that's like the type of laughter that's brought on only by extremely stressful situations. And it reminded me of, when we were in the hospital with your mom, when she was dying of cancer, and we're all there to be with her, to support her. And we all stepped aside and started playing Scrabble and laughed so like inappropriately loud for this situation. It was just like we were all under such a huge amount of stress. It's like your mind overcompensates the emotions.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And that's what I thought of, as they're just laughing hysterically about Enzo realizing he had this brilliant plan.
Yeah, that's a great call out. A good feeler moment.
Thank you.
Final question. Somebody we did not talk about all this episode, but does have a scene. Colonel Sullivan. From his outside knowledge, is Colonel Sullivan correct to believe and be taking such action that 11 is the killer? He's on the hunt for 11.
I mean, objectively, being outside of this whole situation, not knowing everything that like our people know, yes, I would say he is right to believe that that is one of the options. I feel like Colonel Sullivan reminds me in a way of Dr. Brenner, in which they have this very narrow-minded way of thinking. Dr. Brenner, it's all about science and results, and that's truly all that he cares about. Whereas with Colonel Sullivan, it's all about, serving and protecting your country, evaluate those threats. It's very black and white for him. He cannot see that there's possibly any other option. There's no room for human emotions.
Yeah. I agree with the narrow-minded thing, but I don't agree that he should be making this conclusion. He is too convinced. He's just like Jason. He has made up his own mind. Now, he says in this while he's torturing the other agent to try and get the location of where 11 and Brenner and everybody is, he says, either an invisible boogeyman from another dimension is slaughtering these kids, or Dr. Brenner's little pet has gone rogue, perhaps sold to the Soviets. Now, I get it. Sullivan's saying the first thing is crazy and the second thing is more likely. Let's break down that second thing here, Sullivan. What you're trying to say is the real world thing is a girl with her mind from a remote location is snapping people's bones and just leaving it there. Shouldn't you be asking, how is that possible? If that can be possible, maybe you don't understand everything. The fact that is possible should lead you to say, maybe I don't actually know what's going on here, because in the world that I grew up in, people couldn't remotely kill people with their minds. So maybe there's more to it. But no, he accepts that as fact because he's seen it, and he can only see what he has seen. Every single bad guy in season 4 does this. They make up their mind.
See, I see your point, and I agree with your view on how this should have been handled. But I also absolutely see how Colonel Sullivan came to this conclusion. It's kind of like the situation with the people of Hawkins, Indiana. You can only believe so much of the unbelievable, right? And it's easier to believe that somebody on this like planet, this here and now, we know little girls exist, that could happen with some supernatural, ideas. But creating this whole new world, this whole new universe, that's just too much.
Yeah, but you be comfortable with what you don't know. That's my problem with both Jason and Sullivan. They've made up their minds, and now they deny everything else. They're experts all of a sudden?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not saying they're right.
That is it. We'll be back next time to talk the massacre of the Hawkins lab. Ooh, it's a giant one for Chapter 7. My name is Miles.
I'm Kathleen.
Good night.